Hello guys and welcome to the MSC Performance Podcast. Today it is myself and I'm joined by Mark, and I've just realised how long my chair is compared to yours, exaggerating the height difference even more than normal. Mark, how are you?
I'm very well, Luke, thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I've been enjoying listening to the last couple of pods and obviously not been involved, so good to be back in today, and obviously a couple of good interesting topics to go through.
Yeah, awesome. So one of our members requested us talking about managing motivation and how to carry on training through injuries. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We maybe talk a little bit about some youth sport as well, which is one thing that we like to do in the summer as during the 6 weeks holiday. A good chance to do some good strength and conditioning with some team sports in the under 16 ranges. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But as always, let's start off. Mark, how's your training? How's things your end?
Very well, Luke, thank you. Actually, before we start, I'd like to actually give someone a shout out, if that's okay.
Go for it.
Carla Forbes and Tom Forbes over in Australia.
I did see the message.
Sent a lovely message to us yesterday. Talk about the gym, how they listen to the podcast, how they miss us. Obviously, they've made the big move over to Australia a few months ago, and it was just a really lovely message. And I'd just like to give them both a shout out for being absolute legends. And I think when they were members of MSC, just encompassed everything that we're about and everything that we look for in people, hard working when they're training, but like enjoying the laugh, enjoying the social, and just generally two lovely people. And we miss having them around, and we'll dedicate this podcast to them, I think. Thank you guys for listening from the other side of the world.
Do they listen separately or do they listen on one? Because we need the viewers, so if they could listen separately and then talk about it after, that's perfect.
That'd be nice, yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Sorry, the question was about my training, was it, Luke?
Yeah, how's life? How's training?
Good. Yeah, my training personally is going really well at the moment, actually. I'm on a real buzz with it. I think probably not too many people knew, because I was kind of working through it and stuff, but back in October, November, obviously I had a pretty serious illness and lost a lot of weight, and it probably took me like 6-7 months to really get back to like full energy, full working capacity. And I'd say like the last 12 to 16 weeks I've been on a good training block. I was continuing to train throughout the illness, but at its worst I was coming in like 2-3 times a week for like 20-30 minutes, just doing talk about minimum dose. It was just very tough to do anything, but did enough to sort of tick along. And the last 12-16 weeks has been like super like good quality, high quality sessions, super consistent, like feeling energized, feeling like good about my training, and we're sort of getting somewhere back to full goo, I think. Like not a million, probably not quite there yet, but like not a million miles away from being like fully fit, and sort of back to peak condition. Really, that's the goal. And I think I'd probably credit it to we spoke about goal setting and things like that before, and not sort of overreaching with your targets and things like that. And I probably put a lot of it down to that. I think I was accepting of the fact that I wasn't in the best nick, and that I had to start off with absolute basics, almost like not starting again, but like going right back to basics, and just minimum dose, progressive overload, building, and it's been good. And I'm excited about training, again, which has been probably a couple of years since I've been had this kind of buzz.
I think what's good about that is that, because like in the past, if you had like this kind of illness, you would have had a specific timeline that you would have had to build up to, where you would have had a start of a season, or a particular game or an important part of the season that you'd want to be ready for. But now that you've not that you're playing competitive rugby, you've got the luxury of being able to set your own timeline, and there's no rush back, and sometimes the longer the better to build that real big baseline, and then progressively build it from there. So you've set yourself up now for a good end of the year, and hopefully keep stringing together some good training, man.
Yeah, that's the aim.
How are you finding training post rugby? Like, do you feel like you've still got that direction and motivation?
Yeah, I think after I sort of finished playing, it was a bit anticlimactic, really. It was back like last September, and I sort of took a break, and I wasn't like officially retired and wasn't sure what I was going to do. I was just having some time, and then before you know it, I think just the way my life is, business and stuff like that, like time goes so quick. Before I knew it, it was like 6 months down the line. It's like oh, I guess I'm retired then. It was like the world's biggest like anticlimax ever. And I think like, so that sort of October, November, December last year, or October, November, just as before the illness started, I was very much still training like I was playing rugby, but without obviously the games and training. So like I was probably like coasting through a little bit for a couple of months, which was kind of intentional. Like just to take it easy. Maybe I was lacking a little bit of purpose and direction, to be honest, after playing for 32 years. Like, you know, it was maybe lacking a bit of direction, but I was kind of also enjoying like just not going through, you know, like sort of high intensity and just kind of cruising a little bit. And then the illness came at that sort of time really, where I was probably looking to like start pushing it up again. So it was unfortunate timing. So I went for like, obviously I had a couple of months of sort of cruising a little bit, and then obviously, you know, 3 months of like bad illness, and then 2 or 3 months to recover after that. So yeah, definitely lacked a bit of direction and purpose post rugby for a little bit. And even now, I think I'm just starting to figure out some metrics for myself in terms of what I want to sort of train towards. Obviously, I just, you know, want to be a well-rounded athlete. You know, I want to get the strength back up to within, you know, 10% of what it's ever been. I want to, you know, be fit aerobically. I want to still be like a, you know, sort of seen as like, you know, sort of power athlete. So yeah, sort of actually just 12-16 weeks of rebuilding with no particular big goals, and now actually starting to think about what's next. What, you know, because I want to, even though I'm not playing competitive sport, I still want to have some like targets and some aggressive goals and things like that, because I just think that's the way I operate, and I have to be. So I'm just starting to figure those out now, and yeah, I'll let you know in due course. Yeah,
exciting. It's good, man. It's good to have stuff to, you know, I personally like having stuff to work towards as well. I've just recently done my testing week. And I like having that still like at the forefront, because very similar to you, I retired from powerlifting. Well, I'm actually going to do a powerlifting comp I think this year, so like
semi-retired.
Retired from trying to be the best powerlifter I can be. But so I still like that competitive element. I still like having those things to train towards, and I think if that's your personality, you need to play into that, and I think it helps to keep you motivated. Not everyone needs it, but if you do, I think there's nothing wrong with it. So yeah, it's cool, man. Have you got any idea like the test that you're going to do?
Yeah, as I say, like only just started thinking about it, but like I'd like some, you know, form of aerobic marker. Again, like obviously the big trend at the moment is like 5k, obviously, and things like that. I'd quite like to do like a 1k actually, and test my mass, like test my maximal aerobic speed. It'd be quite cool. But like I think the key is for me anyway, is obviously everyone's goals are individual, but like post being a field sport athlete, like I don't want to lose the ability to run. Like, you know, I was never big into like doing 2Ks, 5Ks, etc., because most of the running that I needed to do was taken care of on the rugby pitch. So I was kind of like running without specifically going out and running. Whereas now I haven't got that, and I don't massively particularly enjoy just running if I'm not playing like a ball sport. But also I'd like to, you know, run once a week, maybe, you know, maybe twice a week. But like, I don't want to set the world alight, but I don't want to become an old man who can't run, basically. So there'll be some sort of like maybe a 5k marker, and then just for fun like a 1 or 2k test as well for, let's say, mass.
What would be good for 1k for you? 6 minutes?
At the moment, 6 minutes probably. Yeah. But yeah, get that down around 4 minutes would be pretty cool long term. It's quite a good test I quite like. And then yeah, strength wise, mate, I think like rebuilding the back squat at the moment, which I haven't done for a few years. I've been using other squat alternatives. One of my strengths is probably like pulling and deadlifting, so getting that, you know, back up towards where it could be, sort of, you know, in the 240, you know, 230, 240 mark for a conventional deadlift. Maybe get a trap bar back up to like, you know, 290, 300, something like that. It's got to be 300, yeah. It's got to be 300. Sort of good power clean, like comfortably over bodyweight power clean would be nice. You know, some sort of pull-up test I imagine would be good as well. Nice. And also as well, like I took part in Metcon last night and did did the assault bike test, and I only had one. We were doing a couple of rounds, and like the seat kind of broke a little bit, so I only had like half a crack at it. But I'd like to, I think that's a pretty good test of like peak power, and again, as a athlete, as you get older, I think that's quite a nice thing to hold on to. So being pretty high in that. So there's a general overview, but I'll be more specific as I figure things out, I think.
I saw a really good post you saw as well, because we both follow the guy. He did a post of like the world records for the 60 metres indoor sprint times across all the masters categories, and like the 70-year-old 60 metres is only 10% worse than the I think the open world record or something like that. So actually, like if you train the quality of being fast and being powerful, you can only like a 10% drop off is phenomenal. You would absolutely take that. To be 60 and be 10% off your best ever speed. So if you can train it, like you absolutely should be training it. And I think people get a little bit old in the first. We did a podcast talking about introducing speed again and sprint training, but like you absolutely should be working to try and maintain that speed and power, because again I think that's the biggest drop off rather than strength. You see strength athletes doing phenomenally well into the 50s, but speed is the one that if you don't use it, it absolutely drops down. So if you can train that quality, it's huge for your quality of life, man.
That's probably what I missed out there actually, is actually just sprinting, like to keep that going. And even if it's like once or twice a week at the end of an extended warm-up, just doing some like 15-20 metre work, something like that,
nice.
It would be a nice thing to maintain, definitely.
Yeah. Fantastic, mate. Awesome.
So how was your 5k then? Obviously you tested that out, didn't you, a couple of days ago?
Which trendy? You said it was trendy.
Well, it is trendy, and it's
mate, it was good.
It's a good aerobic test, obviously. Like 5k's been a staple for 50 years.
It's interesting.
It's just funny how things trend, isn't it? Like everyone's doing the 5k's now, and it's like
running clubs are huge.
In S&T, it's always been a thing, but now it's like running clubs / dating clubs or whatever. Like it's a big thing. So.
Can't beat them, join them, Mark.
Back
in the game, baby.
Here we go.
So yeah, I mean, I've done it. That's the third time I've ever done a 5k now, and I think I felt like I'd set a high expectation. I wanted 22.5 is what I wanted, and I got Koza, who's a really good runner, to pace me. And the problem I got is I've been back running for 6 weeks, and I've not done a long run. I've done like 4-minute blocks or 5-minute blocks where I'm doing the speed that I would need for 22.5 quite comfortably, but it's just the length of time, man. It absolutely got me. So I started off and my legs felt so good, because I normally do like some shorter sprint stuff when I do my longer run. So I do a shorter sprints like 2 minutes or 1.5 minutes, like fairly fast, and then I do the slightly longer blocks after it. So I started off and I felt so good, man. And because I was like, oh, you can slow down a little bit if you want, blah blah blah. I felt really good, mate. I fucked it big time, man. Like I did the reservoir, so it's 2 laps is 5k exactly. I hadn't even done the first lap and I was gassed, and I'm not exaggerating where like I wanted to stop. Like if Koza wasn't there, I would have stopped, and I just got myself into a hole with my heart rate. My pacing was all off. So like I was on track for the 22.5 minutes for about half of it, and then I just hit this wall. And I was like, cause I need to, I'm not going to get 22.5. I just cannot keep this going. It's like, okay, the same for the PB. It's like, you got to keep moving. And I really wanted to stop, man. And it was great, to be fair, at motivating. It's said before, like, how much nicer it is to run with people compared to without, because I genuinely would quit. So,
would you have stopped on your own?
Yeah. I almost stopped by myself. There's a bit where it's kind of like a sharp turn and there's like a fence in the way. And I almost stopped there. And I'd got myself in a pickle, mate, real badly, and that's not exaggerating.
When there's someone watching though, or someone with you, like it's just that obligation.
There was a bit as well.
3 peaks, man. Like that's why, like that was probably the only thing that kept us going, was knowing that like people were expecting us to do it.
There was a bit as well where like Koza was walking ahead of me, and he was trying to encourage me to kind of keep pace with him, and I was obviously flagging. And there was this nice moment where there was a guy and his partner walking down the thing. He was like, "Come on, mate, let's go." And I was like, oh, fucking hell, I needed that right there. And it was like, it just gave me a little bit of, oh man, that's so cool. Like,
imagine in the marathon, imagine doing a London marathon and like the atmosphere and stuff.
I can see why people get hooked, because that was like one person said that. And like in the marathon, everyone's cheering everyone, it's phenomenal. So I see the attraction. Like Koza did the half marathon, and he said it was like a powerlifting comp times 1,000. The level of support's unreal. So to summarise, I got a PB 23 minutes 34, something like that. So I knocked almost a minute off it. I was surprised, mate, because like halfway through I was like, if I can just about get a PB, I'd be happy.
Nice.
So I guess my takeaways from it are is like I'm the fittest I've ever been, but I need to do more running. I need to work on my pacing strategy, and I need to avoid gassing way too early. And I think they're quite easy fixes, man. And I'm going to get to work. And I set the goal of 20 minutes by the end of the year, and I think that's a bit ambitious now looking at it. But if I can get as close to it as possible, I'll be really happy. So
nice.
Lessons learned.
What's the answer? More distance, more mileage at lower paces.
Exactly that. I think like I do conditioning now three times a week, and they're all relatively short to moderate lengths of blocks. And like I'm really comfortable in that, like, you know, obviously the shorter the interval the better for me from being a powerlifter and powerlifting kind of power athlete. I need to get more comfortable like mentally with the longer distances. So I like the idea of doing like a long run on a Wednesday, sub-maximal, maybe for like 2-3k, but then having a couple of kilometres where you just push the speed a little bit more and do a little bit of tempo work in the middle and then slow back down. So I imagine like a longer run with a couple of slightly faster Ks in it is probably going to be the right idea. Well, now I look at it in hindsight, I'm doing like 4 or 5 minute blocks on a Wednesday, and then I'm doing a similar length of block on the ergs on a Saturday, and the energy system's been developed on both of them. I could probably move away from one of them a little bit more.
Nice. Yeah, there's no substitute for mileage, eh? It's like there's a reason, you know, pro long distance runners are doing long distance work, like they're doing the aerobic stuff, like you know, 70-80% of the work they do at least is zone 2, like long distance, like slow, methodical running rhythm, pacing, getting the mileage in, building the tissue tolerance,
knowing what you can do as well, like mentally is huge, man.
Yes.
Like knowing how fast you can work at and being comfortable there, is because I just wasn't comfortable from the get-go, man. But I'm like you, like I don't want to be all in on 5Ks and on winning. Like if you want to do that and that's your primary goal, you've got to do like 2 or 3 runs a week. I only want to do one a week. So my aim now is just to keep improving on my fitness and just get a little bit more mileage in on the running. But I mean 23.5 I'm pretty happy with, to be honest. Like I'm not disheartened, it's just, as always, we set ourselves lofty expectations, and
sub 25 is good. Like as a good marker, like sub 25 is good, and then obviously you start chipping away at the next thing, 22.5. That's probably the next one, isn't it? And that's starting to.
Well, that's 4.5 minute kilometres.
Yeah, it's pretty decent.
This was I think 440 something.
Yeah,
441 or 442, which is still pretty decent, but. Yeah, it just seems like such a big jump, man. But I'm going to keep working on it. I do enjoy it, and it's nice in the summer, man, because it gets to the winter again and it's sloggy outside, man, when you're running in the slush. But yeah, man, it's all good.
I remember those runs back in October or whenever it was. We were doing a bit of running together, and it was like, I think it was snowing on it already in October or something. It was pretty grim. But the show goes on. With the running, is it you got to a point now building up tolerance that it doesn't affect the strength work? Obviously it's going to affect it like a tiny bit, but
well, I don't know if it does. I think the main thing that affects the strength work is that I'm not doing as much of the strength as I was. I'm not doing 2 low bar squats a week anymore. I'm doing 1 and a front squat. I'm not benching at all, or I'm doing 1 a week bench. So I think just like the thing that's affecting the strength is there. But actually when I'm doing the lifts I feel great. Like I cleaned 115, which was the most I've ever done. I did 110. I've never really pushed it, so I don't really know what the ceiling is. It's definitely like technical still. I got 140 for free front squat with a little bit of a pause. So like my strength is right up there where I want it to be. I'm going to try and do a 205 for 5 squat today. So I feel like I'm not a million miles away from. I'm well within like 5% of my best numbers on squat while really training it down. So I'm optimistic that like when the powerlifting comp I want to do is in December, if I have like 8 weeks where I'll just specifically train 3 times a week powerlifting and then carry on doing the conditioning stuff, I think I'll be in a decent enough spot.
Nice.
But yeah, man, it's like you get that initial bit where like you're acclimating to doing the work and it's uncomfortable, your back's a little bit sore. That's gone within 2 months, and you've almost got to grin and bear that and just don't trust the process. I don't like saying that, but you know, you got to acknowledge that there's going to be a bit of acclimation.
Exactly, yeah. You're building the mileage slowly, but like there's still going to be a bit of soreness, and that means you're going to have to fucking grind through a couple of strength sessions, aren't you? There's not going to be,
man, me and you in the absolute world of pain in our QLs trying to do RDLs, hanging on after 12-hour flights and a 20-minute run down Ocean Drive.
Yeah.
Ocean Drive. Yeah, so Do you want to dive into the motivational chat, talking of little injuries, training around?
Oh yes, injuries. Yeah. I thought this was a topic for today.
Yeah. So one of the members asked about how we can stay disciplined and motivated when you have like ongoing longer term injuries. So we're going to look at it from, I guess, 2 sides. Is like an acute injury. So if you've had like a muscle tear or strain, or versus like chronic pain, which is like, you know, your knees constantly hurt or your back constantly hurts, and kind of dive into like different strategies that we found to be useful in those. So Mark, you've had an injury or two?
I was speaking from a bit of experience here after a slightly injury-plagued rugby career, so I might be a good
Should we
voice
start
of
with,
reason for this. Do you want to go acute or do you want to go chronic?
Chronic. Because I think this person's maybe more of a chronic issue. So if you've got ongoing back pain, how do you deal with like or knee, whatever? Like, how do you deal with like staying motivated during that? Because that's something that every single person's going to have to deal with, regardless if you do a sport or not. I think it's really important to say from the get-go that like strength training is amazing for you, and the injury rates are super low. But with anything, you are going to get injuries, and doing any kind of athletic pursuit, there's a chance of injury. There's a chance of injury doing nothing. I think it's really important not to scaremonger people, but injuries do happen. So it's trying to work around them and find ways to keep progressing your training forward without causing further aggravation. So what have you done in the past? What have you found to be useful when you've got like, I don't know, a chronic issue that's maybe you've got to drop the weights back a little bit more than you'd maybe want to, you've had to reduce the volumes down, like how do you stay motivated?
I suppose with my injury history was a little bit more the other side of things, really, with like serious impact injuries and a bit of acute stuff, but like rather than ongoing sort of chronic, I never suffered too badly with that, apart from like, one or two little things, like right side sort of QL's always been a bit of an ongoing thing. It's like, obviously I had like, a pretty serious disc injury a long time ago, like early 20s, so that was pretty miserable. And then like every now and again, still that right side does flare up a little bit. So, I think like from a mental point of view, there's probably more to go through with the acute stuff, but like, with the ongoing chronic, like definitely, obviously trying to maintain as much positivity as you possibly can, and just realizing that there's still a hell of a lot of good work you can do, and it goes without saying, but around the injury, and still so much you can develop with if there's chronic injury issue in one particular area, there's still so much you can do to work around that, and always try and look at problems and issues as an opportunity, if you can. So if there's an ongoing like knee issue, for example, obviously that needs addressing, but from a psychological point of view, it can be quite good to push the uppers and like actually like say, right, okay, well, obviously I'm going to work on getting the knee better, but whilst I've got this opportunity, I'm actually going to, and I can't push the lowers as much as I'd like, I'm actually going to push the uppers, and I'm going to try and PB my bench. I'm going to try and get loads better. I'm going to take this opportunity to actually become good at pull-ups. I'm going to put a bit of size on the shoulders, etc., etc. And I think like that's quite that sort of links into the mental side of it. I think in terms of keeping you motivated and keeping you going. And then
I would say exactly that is when you've had like these injuries, is like coming out of it with a new skill set. So if like you've got knee pain and you want to modify your squat technique, you want to come back after the injury and in a position where you're able to push with better technique, or if you haven't been able to squat, so your overall lower body stress is a little bit lower, you can increase the upper body stress and, like you said, PB the bench press and gain some muscle. So when you come back to doing the normal training, you've come out of it with a new skill set. You've got more muscle mass, more ability to produce more force. Long term, you're going to be in a better position. So using that time to develop other things, like you said, is massive, and coming out of it in a better position than when you started to set yourself up for further success is great. Because if you can't squat above 60%, do that 60% phenomenally well. Like if your technique's a little bit rusty or a little bit ropey, fine tune that technique, hone it in as best as you can, practice your little cues, and then when you're in a position to start to load it again, hopefully you find that you're able to maintain that technique better at these higher percentages.
Definitely. I mean, I remember tearing my bicep off, and like I was straight in the gym the next day, but I was like, right, this is an opportunity to hit my lowers and get some volume through the lowers. Obviously it made it quite hard in terms of holding the bar and things like that. I mean, I could just about do safety bar, and I was loading like loads of 10s with one hand, but getting on the leg press, and it's like, right, I can't be bothered to like spend 10 minutes loading, so I'll just load it for one leg and just do single leg. I'll do loads of leg extension, loads of hamstring curls, things like that, and actually try and put a bit of size on these skinny legs, and do like loads of calf work and tidy up like maybe some, playing on the 4G was quite tough on like Achilles and things like that as like a sort of heavier athlete, I guess, like so doing loads of like calf work, Achilles work, like building stiffness around the Achilles was quite a good opportunity. And like I say, if it's a chronic ongoing knee issue, obviously like speak to a professional and like see what you can do, but that's where you can like really push the uppers, and also like things like, you know, you may well be able to push a lot of the lowers as well. For example, like you know, working your posterior chain, doing like a lot of RDL work.
If it's deadlift up,
yeah, exactly, like deadlift off blocks or whatever, like a high handle trap bar. There's still like, be creative and think, right, I can still work hard. I can still work equally as hard, possibly even harder.
Yeah.
But I've just got to be sensible. So if it's like knee flexion, I can only do 50% with some slow tempo squats. Okay, that sucks. But what I can do is load up my RDLs really super heavy. I can do a shitload of upper body work and put on some mass in that side of things. I can get on the ski erg and improve that capability.
That's
so
another one, man. Like if you can't do the strength training heavy, like build up some fitness for a while. Use it as a chance to get your aerobic fitness up.
Yeah.
When you come back in, you're able to handle more workload. You don't need to rest as long. It's a new skill set.
Yeah, and I think like this also, well, probably, you know, even more so relates to the acute stuff. But like, allow yourself to be pissed off initially. Like when you get an injury, like allow yourself to be down for a few days, because it's like if you're someone who's serious about training and you break your arm, and I can testify to this, like it's a miserable place to be for like a good few days, maybe even a week. Just allow those feelings, like allow that, like, you know, allow yourself to be the victim and feel pissed off with the world. But then you got to get back on the fucking horse, and you got to like turn that into a superpower of positivity, of like, right, I'm gonna get jack legs, I'm gonna work on like X, Y, and Z, I'm gonna come back stronger, I'm gonna use it as I'm gonna get on the bike and do zone 2 and like build a phenomenal engine, all these sorts of things. Yeah,
I used to do exactly the same, where if I had like 2 or 3 injuries during powerlifting, on the night I'd always have a curry. I don't know why, but it was like, well, I'm gonna have a curry and then I'm locking
shit food. I'd always
a massive feed.
That'd be the little treat of like, yeah, any time I got an injury or post-op or anything like that, I'd be like, right, I'm having 2 or 3 days of eating absolute toilet and just having whatever I want, basically, just smashing cookies in, watching film. So I've got horrible thing of like, whenever I'm not working or training or something, like I find it quite hard with downtime to like switch off, and I feel like, you know, I'll never watch TV in a day, like, or feel guilty and stuff like that. Whereas that's the one time I've ever been like, I'm just gonna chill and watch like a couple of stupid movies in the middle of the day. So I allow that like 2 or 3 days, and then it's like, right, sort your life out, come on, let's go. Like you time's a great healer of perspective, and you start thinking, right, I broke my arm or I tore my hamstring or whatever. It's like, yeah, it sucks, but there's people going through a lot worse, and you start having a wider view of it, and it's like, right, come on, back on it now. Let's use this as a opportunity to grow in other areas.
For me, I'd have the big feed, I'd have a bath, I'd always have a bath, and then I'd be like, Monday, I'm coming back in now, and I'm ready to start the training week. And then, you know, you scale back and you're doing whatever you can. I think there's 2 things there. Is you said about like hiring a professional. I think if you hire a team, you need to then be buying into that is the best route forward. And I think pain is very multifaceted. When you're expecting there to be pain, you're expecting there to be discomfort, you almost can like mentally convince yourself there's more pain there than there already is. If you go in with it being confident in the methods that you're doing with your coach or with your physio, I think that automatically just allows your body to feel a little bit better. I think when you come in and expecting pain and you kind of tighten up a little bit, you just convince yourself there's discomfort there, it always feels worse than if you're saying, I'm 100% confident that this is the best exercise for me and this is the best route forward. And it's amazing how much of a difference that makes. I remember like I tore my quad once, like just a grade 1 or grade 2, and I was like super nervous squatting. I'd done all like the rehab stuff, and then I had a session with Max, and Max was like, Luke, there's a little bit of damage there, but you're not in a position where it's hanging on or it's going to tear if you do too much work. The next session went phenomenally well. Just being confident that my body was okay is huge. So I think if you have got an ongoing issue, obviously try and get some help with it, but then also like make sure that the person you've hired is someone that you believe in and you respect, and that you're confident with the approach that they're taking. And I think the difference in coming into your sessions then versus coming into it questioning things and doubting it is massive for getting back to full health.
I agree.
Yeah. The other one, I forgot it. I had another one when you were talking. They're the big ones. I think the confidence thing. I think the acute thing's fairly similar, isn't it? We kind of covered both of them. Is there anything that you wanted to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think we probably don't want to go too far into like how to rehab an injury. But I think what I would say is with like any sort of tissue damage and things like that, the research is very positive towards like working the muscle, like not sort of resting for too long, but like with a torn hamstring, for example, like getting back on the bike like as early as possible, getting things moving, like empty bar RDLs, things like that, and actually like getting some blood flow to it, which can make it more a little bit more sore in the short term, but is being proven to be like massively beneficial in the mid to longer term. So putting yourself through that bit of discomfort, but again, please be careful with that and just make sure you're speaking to a professional so you know what to do and what to load. But don't think, right, I've tweaked something, I just need to sit out for a couple of weeks. Like, movement is medicine, as they say. And
there's two things there. Is one, I remember once I'd hurt my back, and then I had the British. I was coaching someone at the British, I think it was the bench, but still you got to load the plates, and I was like, fuck man, like this is the last thing I want to do now. And I remember going there, loading the plates, it was super uncomfortable, and then the next day I felt great. And I spoke to Max about it. He was like, that's probably the best thing you did, because if you've hurt your back, you're just going to go and sit at home, probably in bad positions, versus standing up, actually moving.
Flexed hip, flexed T-spine, like so tightening up even more. Yeah,
versus actually just going and doing some movement probably really helped.
Yeah.
I also like the idea when you said about like where should you start, is you want to kind of do almost as much work as you can without making the issue worse. Yeah. So if you find that, I don't know, you've hurt your knees are sore, squatting 50% feels okay, 70% feels uncomfortable, like that's your threshold, and you want to do as much work within that as you can, and then like we said earlier, train around that and push the other things a little bit harder while that stress is down. So you don't want to avoid the area altogether, just find an appropriate amount of work for the position that you're currently in, and elsewhere try and increase the stress to really push that on. And like you said, man, use that opportunity to build up elsewhere is huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
There you go, mate. Couple of little motivational tips and real way takeaways. Do you want to dive into the youth, or do you want to wrap it up there? I think
we'll spend a couple of minutes. Obviously the summer holidays are here, and we're doing quite a bit with our youth athletes, and excitingly we've taken a couple more youth athletes on as well, a couple of young footballers, and looking to sort of push and develop this side of things, this side of our market, really, because I think it's there's a huge opportunity out there. There's so many, obviously we're working a lot in women's football at the moment, and there's youngsters out there that could really benefit from obviously doing S&C to supplement the support the sports that they're doing. And I think it's obviously probably a full podcast on its own, but what I would say is it's just such a important thing for youngsters to build up strength, to build up tissue tolerance, to build up all the factors around S&C, both from a physical point of view and also from a mental point of view of building confidence and everything like that. So you look at like performance outputs. If we can be, let's take the female footballer for example, we can be stronger, build strength, we can be stronger on the ball, we can build power, be better in the air, change direction quicker, we can be faster, we can build a better aerobic system, but also what you're doing is building a bit of tolerance to absorb the forces of the sport. And there's actually like lifting weights is going to be a lot safer than any sport you would play. So but please continue to play sport, because there's so many benefits of playing sport, of course, but just supporting that with a bit of strength and conditioning and learning how to lift safely and effectively, and supporting the connective tissues in the body to be able to absorb the short, you think of football, so much like acceleration, deceleration, change direction, jump, land, volume, 90 minutes a game, training sessions throughout the week. Youngsters are growing all the time, and just building good strength, good coordination in the gym with like sort of sensible progressive overload in terms of loading them is just hugely beneficial. So I won't go into too much depth, because I think that's probably a podcast on its own, but it's exciting to see more youngsters getting into S&C, more parents becoming more aware of the benefits, and watch this space, because I think it's quite again something we're very passionate about is developing youngsters. You're working with someone as young as 7 at the moment. we've got 13, 14, 15-year-olds. We've got a bit in between as well. So yeah, again, won't go into too much, but if you are interested and you want to make the most of the summer holidays and introduce your kid into strength and conditioning and build some skills that can last a lifetime, then feel free to reach out.
Now's the time, man. There's going to be I feel like an influx of in particular like young women looking to like get back into football with the success of the the European champs. So I think we're going to see a bit of an influx there.
Game's growing, man. Game's growing fast. So let's support the athletes as best as we can.
Say no more, Marky. Say no more. Awesome. Happy there?
Happy there.
Right. Fantastic, guys. Thank you all for listening. Hope you answered a couple of the questions that we had. And if you have any other thoughts or you want to talk to us about anything that we mentioned today, give us a message. And if not, we'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.